7 powerful Bible verses to strengthen your faith. But before we even open the Bible together, can I ask you something? Have you ever been so weighed down that even praying felt hard? Like the faith you once had, the fire you once felt, was slipping through your fingers? I know that feeling. I know what it's like to stare at the ceiling at 2 a.m., wondering if God still hears you, wondering if you're still strong enough to keep believing. And maybe right now you're in that place, feeling tired, discouraged, or even a little lost. If that's you, I want you to lean in, because the verses we're about to walk through aren't just words on a page. They are lifelines. They are promises from the God who sees you, knows you, and will never let you go. So take a deep breath and let's jump right into the very first verse that has personally strengthened my faith over and over again. And I believe if you grab hold of this today, it's going to lift you out of fear, out of uncertainty, and place you right back on the solid foundation of God's promises. The first verse comes from the book of Isaiah, and oh, what a promise it is. Listen closely to these words. Isaiah 41 verse 10. Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you, I will help you, I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Now let's just take a moment to breathe that in. Think about what God is saying here. He's not just giving you a polite, don't worry, like a friend who's trying to cheer you up. No, he's making a covenant promise. He's saying, fear not, I am with you. That means in the hospital room, he's with you. In the job interview, he's with you. In the middle of a family crisis, he's with you. It's not about pretending the storm isn't there, it's about knowing who's in the boat with you. I remember a season in my life when everything seemed to be falling apart at the same time. Finances? Dry. Health. Struggling. Faith? Hanging by a thread. And in the middle of that, I opened my Bible one morning and this verse almost jumped off the page. It was like God was saying to me personally, T'Chukwu, I'm still here. I haven't walked out on you. I'm going to give you the strength you need for today, and tomorrow too. And honestly, that changed everything. Not because my circumstances flipped overnight, but because my perspective did. So let's highlight 3 promises from Isaiah 41 verse 10 that you can hold on to. I am with you. God's presence is not seasonal. It doesn't expire when life gets messy. I will strengthen you. This isn't your strength. It's his supernatural strength filling your weakness. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. That's protection, that's victory, and that's security in one sentence. Here's the thing, fear loves to whisper, you're alone. You're not going to make it. But faith shouts back, my God is with me and he's holding me up. So today, if you're facing something that's shaking your faith, I want you to say this out loud. I will not fear, for God is with me. I will not be dismayed, for he is my God. Say it until your heart believes it. Say it until peace starts to rise inside you. Isaiah 41 verse 10 isn't just a verse to read, it's a promise to stand on. And when you choose to stand on it, fear starts to lose its grip on your life. Because faith and fear can't live in the same room. One will always push the other out. Alright, that's verse number 1. But trust me, the next verse we're about to look at? It's going to take your faith to an even deeper level. Alright, verse number 2 is one that I've come back to countless times when life felt like too much. It's a verse that reminds you, no matter how heavy your burden feels right now, you're not carrying it alone. In fact, God designed you to bring that weight to him. This one comes straight from the mouth of Jesus himself. Let's read it. Matthew 11 verses 28 to 30. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Now, I don't know about you, but I've had seasons where weary and burdened felt like my middle name. Jesus here isn't just talking about physical tiredness, he's talking about the kind of exhaustion that seeps into your spirit. Notice the very first thing he says, come to me. He doesn't say, fix yourself first, then come. He doesn't say, prove you're strong enough. No, he says, come. That's an open invitation for anyone who's struggling, overwhelmed, or just plain tired of trying to hold it together. I remember during a really stressful work season, I was waking up with this knot in my stomach every single day. One morning, I sat in my car before walking in and I just whispered, God, I can't do this today. I'm tired. It was like I could almost hear Jesus saying, that's exactly why I want you to come to me. And that day, even though the workload didn't magically shrink, I walked through it with a peace I couldn't explain. Because when you hand the weight to God, he doesn't just give you a little energy boost, he gives you rest for your soul. Let's break down the promises here. Come to me, God's door is always open. You don't need an appointment. I will give you rest. Not just physical rest, but deep soul-level rest that anxiety can't steal. My yoke is easy. Life with God doesn't mean no challenges, but it means you're never carrying them alone. If you've been running on empty, I want you to pause right now and do something simple. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and just say, Lord, I'm coming to you. Take this weight. Give me your rest. You'd be amazed at how God can step in the moment you decide you're done trying to be your own savior. Let him take the heavy stuff. That's what he promised to do. Matthew 11 verses 28 to 30 is a reminder that you were never built to carry the full weight of life by yourself. You're not failing when you feel tired, you're human. And that's exactly why Jesus offers his rest. Alright, we've looked at God's promise of his presence in Isaiah 41 verse 10 and his promise of rest in Matthew 11. But the next verse? It's about strength, the kind that comes when you think you've got nothing left to give. Now, if you've ever hit that wall, you know, the point where you've prayed, you've tried, you've pushed, and you feel like there's literally nothing left in the tank, this next verse is for you. It's not about pretending to be strong. It's about tapping into a strength that doesn't run out. Let's read it together. Philippians 4 verse 13, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. This is one of those verses that gets printed on mugs, t-shirts, even gym walls, but it's so much deeper than a motivational slogan. Paul wrote this from a prison cell. He wasn't talking about lifting more weight or crushing a to-do list. He was talking about enduring life's hardest seasons with a strength that comes from Christ alone. When Paul says, I can do all things, he's not saying, I can do anything I feel like. He's saying, I can face anything, the good, the bad, the impossible, because Christ is the one giving me strength. I remember when a close friend of mine was diagnosed with a serious illness. I asked him how he was staying so calm, and he just smiled and said, Philippians 4 verse 13, I'm not doing this alone. And you could see it in his eyes. There was a peace that didn't make sense. That's what happens when your strength isn't yours, it's his. 3 quick takeaways here. I can, that's confidence not in yourself but in God's ability through you. All things, not some things, not only the easy things, all things God calls you to face. Through Christ, he is the source, remove him and the strength goes with him. If you're in a battle right now, I want you to speak this verse over your life like a declaration. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Say it when you wake up. Say it when fear starts whispering. Say it until it drowns out the doubt. This isn't positive thinking, it's biblical truth. And truth will always outlast fear. Philippians 4 verse 13 isn't about superhuman ability, it's about supernatural endurance. It's knowing that no matter what's ahead, you've got a source of strength that will never run dry. Next, we're going to look at a verse that reminds you that your faith isn't just about holding on. It's about trusting completely, even when you can't see the next step. Next, we're going to look at a verse that reminds you that your faith isn't just about holding on. It's about trusting completely, even when you can't see the next. Okay. If you've ever been in a place where the future feels like one big fog, where you can't see more than one step ahead, this next verse is going to speak right to you. It's one of the most quoted verses in the Bible, and for good reason. Because it's all about trust. Not the kind of trust that's easy when everything is going well, but the kind that says, God, I don't understand, but I still choose to follow you. Here it is. Proverbs 3 verses 5 to 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, this is where faith gets real. It's one thing to trust God when you see the plan. It's another thing entirely to trust him when all you see is a closed door, a detour, or what looks like a dead end. Notice it says, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Not half your heart. Not when it's convenient. All your heart. And then, lean not on your own understanding. Why? Because our understanding is limited. We see one puzzle piece but God sees the whole picture. Finally, it says, in all your ways submit to him. That means inviting God into every decision, the big ones and the small ones. And the promise? He will make your path straight. In other words, he'll guide you exactly where you need to be. And he will make your path straight. I'll be honest, this is one of the hardest verses for me to live out sometimes. I like to figure things out, have a plan, know what's coming. But there was a season where I felt God calling me to take a step that didn't make sense on paper. I wrestled with it for weeks, and every time this verse came to mind. Finally, I said, all right, God, I don't see the whole road, but I trust you enough to take the next step. And you know what? That step led to doors opening I never could have forced open myself. Looking back now, I realize that if I'd insisted on leaning on my own understanding, I would have missed what God had prepared for me. Here are the big takeaways. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Partial trust still leaves room for fear. Full trust leaves no room for it. Lean not on your own understanding. Your perspective is limited, God's is infinite. He will make your path straight. God's guidance isn't random, it's intentional and purposeful. Here's my challenge to you. Think of one area of your life right now where you've been leaning on your own understanding. Maybe it's your finances, your relationships, your career path. Today, hand it over to God and say, I choose to trust you even when I don't understand. Because here's the truth, you don't have to see the whole staircase to take the first step. You just have to know who's holding your hand. Proverbs 3 verses 5 to 6 is an invitation to live without the weight of having to figure everything out on your own. When you let God lead, you don't have to fear the unknown, because nothing is unknown to Him. Alright, next we're going to talk about a verse that reminds you that your faith is not just about trust. It's also about courage to stand firm, even in the face of battles. You know, faith isn't just about believing in the good times. Sometimes it's about standing your ground in the middle of a fight you never asked for. And I'm not talking about a physical fight. I'm talking about those spiritual battles. The moments when fear, doubt, and opposition come at you from all sides. This next verse is like a rallying cry from God Himself. It's a call to be strong not because you're fearless, but because you know Joshua 1:9, have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Exactly who's standing beside you. Let's set the scene here. Joshua had just taken over leadership from Moses, no small shoes to fill. He was about to lead the people of Israel into the promised land, and the obstacles ahead were real. Enemies, unknown territory, and a huge responsibility. God doesn't give Joshua a gentle suggestion. He gives him a command. Be strong and courageous. Notice that God ties Joshua's courage directly to His presence. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. That's the same truth for you today. Your courage isn't rooted in your own strength, it's anchored in God's constant presence. I remember the first time I had to speak in front of a huge crowd. My heart was pounding, my hands were sweating, and I honestly thought about backing out. But as I prayed, this verse came to mind, be strong and courageous, for the Lord your God will be with you. I realized it wasn't about me impressing anyone, it was about showing up with the confidence that God was with me. And you know what? The nerves didn't magically vanish, but they no longer controlled me. Because courage doesn't mean the absence of fear, it means moving forward despite it. Here's what you can take from Joshua 1 verse 9. Be strong and courageous, this is a choice, not a feeling. Do not be afraid, do not be discouraged. Fear and discouragement are natural, but they don't get the final say. The Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. God's presence is your greatest source of confidence. If you're facing something that feels bigger than you, I want you to do this. Before you take the next step, whisper this prayer. Lord, I choose to be strong and courageous not because of me but because you are with me. Imagine what would happen if you faced every challenge with that mindset. Fear would lose its grip. Doubt would shrink. And faith would take the lead. Joshua 1 verse 9 isn't just a pep talk. It's God's command and God's promise rolled into one. When you step out in courage, knowing He's with you, you become unstoppable in His purpose. Now, in the next verse, we're going to see how God's presence isn't just about courage. It's also about peace that doesn't make sense to the world. Alright, let's keep the momentum and move into verse 6. Let's be honest, courage is important, but even the bravest heart can feel overwhelmed if it doesn't have peace. I'm talking about that deep, steady calm that sits in your spirit even when the storm is still raging around you. And here's the thing, peace like that doesn't come from having perfect circumstances. It comes from knowing who's in control. That's exactly what this next verse is all about. John 14 verse 27, Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled and do not be afraid. Let's notice something right away. Jesus doesn't say, I'll give you peace once your problems are over. He says, I give you my peace. That's present tense. That's right here, right now. And this isn't just any peace, it's His peace. Think about that. The same peace Jesus had while sleeping in a boat during a storm, the same peace He carried even knowing He was heading to the cross. When He says, I do not give to you as the world gives, He means His peace isn't based on temporary fixes. It's not the peace of a vacation or a quiet day, it's the peace that holds you together when nothing else makes sense. I'll never forget a phone call I got one night. It was bad news, the kind that knocks the air out of your lungs. I expected to crumble, but instead, this strange, steady calm settled over me. And I knew, this wasn't me being strong. This was exactly what Jesus promised. His peace. The situation didn't change overnight, but I walked through it without falling apart. And that's when I realized, peace isn't the absence of the storm, it's God's presence in the middle of it. Here's what we can pull from John 14 verse 27. My peace I give you, this isn't borrowed strength, it's a gift directly from Jesus. Not as the world gives, God's peace isn't fragile, it doesn't vanish when trouble comes. Do not let your hearts be troubled. Peace is a choice we protect even in chaos. Here's something you can do today. Every time you feel anxiety rising, stop and pray this simple line. Lord, I receive your peace. It's not about forcing yourself to feel calm, it's about accepting the gift He's already given you. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do in a storm is to sit still and let His peace guard your heart. John 14 verse 27 reminds us that as believers, we don't just hope for peace, we have it. It's been given to us. And once you understand that, fear and anxiety lose their power. Next, we're moving to our final verse, and it's one that will anchor everything we've talked about so far. It's about the unshakable promise that God is always working for your good, no matter what you face. Alright, let's bring it home with verse 7 and close out the full script with a strong, faith-filled ending. We've talked about God's presence, His rest, His strength, His guidance, His courage, and His peace. But this last verse ties them all together with one of the most powerful promises in Scripture. The truth that no matter what happens in your life, God is always working for your good. Even when it doesn't look good, even when it doesn't feel good. He's still in control. Romans 8 verse 28. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. This isn't saying that everything that happens to us is good. Let's be real, some things are painful, unfair, and heartbreaking. But God is saying, I will take even the worst situations and weave them into something that will ultimately bring good. That's the beauty of this promise. It's not about avoiding pain. It's about knowing pain will never have the final word. And notice the verse starts with, and we know. That's certainty. That's not wishful thinking. That's a settled confidence that God is at work, even when our eyes can't see it. I can look back at some of the hardest moments in my life and see how God was quietly working behind the scenes. There were doors that shut that I cried over, but now I see those same closed doors protected me from things I didn't even know were coming. Sometimes the good God is working is only visible in hindsight. And that's why we walk by faith, not by sight. Here's what Romans 8 verse 28 teaches us. In all things, not some things, all things. Nothing is wasted in God's hands. God works for the good. He's always active, always intentional, always purposeful. Those who love Him, called according to His purpose. This promise is for those who are surrendered to God's plan. If you're going through something right now that you can't make sense of, I want you to hold on to this truth. God, I may not understand this right now, but I trust you are working it for my good. Say it until it becomes your default response to trouble. Because when you believe this, you stop panicking about what you see, and start trusting the one who sees it all. So there you have it, 7 powerful Bible verses to strengthen your faith. Isaiah 41 verse 10, God's presence. Matthew 11 verses 28 to 30, God's rest. Philippians 4 verse 13, God's strength. Proverbs 3 verses 5 to 6, God's guidance. Joshua 1 verse 9, God's courage. John 14 verse 27, God's peace. Romans 8 verse 28, God's purpose. If you hold on to these 7 truths, you'll be equipped to face anything life throws at you. If this message spoke to you today, I want you to do 2 things. First, write down these 7 verses somewhere you can see them daily. Second, share this video with someone who needs a faith boost right now. Remember, faith grows when we feed it, and the Word of God is the best meal you could ever give it. Let's pray. Father, thank you for the promises in your Word. Thank you that in every season, whether we're on the mountain or in the valley, you are with us, you strengthen us, you guide us, and you work all things for our good. Lord, help us to trust you fully, rest in your peace, and walk in your courage. In Jesus' name, amen.